Oh my goodness. Okay, our cinematographer honoree is here from Killers of the Flower Moon. Welcome, Rodrigo Prieto. And he also did Barbie too. Rodrigo doing double duty for Barbie and Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yep.
Congratulations on everything. Oh my gosh, that clip.
Thank you.
My heart's like, it's such a tense moment. And your camera work on this and the lighting. Talk about, because this is a pivotal moment in the film, talk a little bit about what's happened for those who haven't seen it yet, and how you lit that.
Well, yeah, that's obviously a very important moment in the movie. And that location where we shot the scene is the same place where we shot the interior of the same house before it explodes. So we actually, locations was able to find a house where it was going to be torn down. It was sold, it was going to be torn down, so we just dressed it for the interior scenes when Ernest goes and has all this conversation. And then we went to shoot other things while the art department basically destroyed the house and made a crater, and then made a sculpture of the destruction. So it was also the same neighborhood in Fairfax where that actually happened. It's not the exact same plot of land, but it was 2 blocks away from where we were shooting. And some people, even in our crew, weren't there, but their ancestors were there, and they were talking about it. In the camera crew, we had a PA who told us that his great uncle or someone close was talking about that explosion and finding stuff and like pieces of netty. I mean, really tremendous stuff. So the lighting of it, for me, was, the character Ernest at this point is really going down a hellish part of his life. He's all confused and he's racked with guilt. And this is the moment he realizes the magnitude of what they're doing. So it was important to feel that. And the source of light became the fire, from the gas pipes and stuff where there'd be a little bit of fire going on. And so we just used big frames, 12 by 12 and 20 by 20 with this material that's silver lame, and bounce the light onto that, and the grips would move it around. That would create sort of the fire light effect, plus all these cranes that we had with light bulbs on them, which was a thing we did with several of the scenes, night scenes in Fairfax. I lit it with light bulbs hanging above the scene. And that was based on this thing that was happening at the time. They called it frayed lights. So the people of Fairfax were afraid, so they put out light bulbs to light the streets to be able to see if anybody evil was lurking.
I love that. Talk about how you lit, the Osage and Molly, Lily Gladstone, and Ernest. And in comparison, Ernest and his uncle William Hale.
Well, there was a whole exploration of different feels or looks for the different times in the movie, but also the different groups. In this case, the Osage, we wanted to represent differently than the descendants of the Europeans, right, the immigrants. So I thought that photography, still photography, was a good basis to start from in terms of color. So I started testing different methods, looking a lot of still photography from the era, in particular color photography, and fell in love with autochrome. That's a technique that the Lumiere brothers invented in France. So it was an import from Europe to the rest of the world, in this case to America, just like the white people are an import from Europe. So we decided to give them that look, autochrome, and we did deep research and created it digitally, an emulation of autochrome. The Osage, on the other hand, when they're alone, when they're not surrounded by these white people, we photograph them as naturalistic as possible in terms of color. So when Molly is praying to the sun in the morning, for example, the color of nature is as close as, I think, film negative, actually, what's what we used. It really captures the depth of the color, and we use that and try to make it as naturalistic as possible. And then there are other looks, like after the explosion, the scene, we changed everything to a process called ENR, which is contrasty, desaturated, harsh. So we wanted things to become harsher for the characters. And towards the end, the last scene in the movie, yeah, it's almost the last scene, it's a representation in a radio show of this story. So that happened in the 30s. So we segued to the look of color in cinema at the time, which was 3-strip Technicolor. So that's why that scene looks so distinct. So it was just looking for ways of representing storytelling through the color of photography.
I love that. How would you describe, yes. How would you describe your relationship and collaboration with Martin Scorsese? This is what, your 5th collaboration now, including the short film?
Yeah, if you include a pilot we did together for vinyl, yes. I mean, I couldn't believe the day when I met him, for Wolf of Wall Street. First of all, just meeting him in his home in New York, and then getting the call, yes, you're doing the movie. He wants you to do the movie. Like, okay, dream come true. And it's still the same. I still get as excited when the project comes up and we start developing it, and any clue he gives me of ideas that he's starting to have of how the movie should look, to me is like, wow, I love this, and then be able to collaborate with him, and so he'll tell me what is in his mind or ask me questions. He does that a lot. What do you think? He'll ask. Sometimes when I ask him a question, hey Marty, do you think we should dolly in here? What do you think? I think we should dolly. No, whatever, no, whatever it might be. But he speaks not in technical terms, and I love that. He'll say things about how shots should feel and the energy of the camera. And sometimes I'll present a shot, I'll set something up, and he'll say, I think it needs to, whatever it might be, it needs to have more energy, or it needs to be more extreme. That's a word he uses, more extreme. What does that mean? So by now, I think I understand what his words like that mean, and I try to deliver it.
There you go, a little insight into Killers of the Flower Moon and Rodrigo's work. There is so much else to talk about, and I will see you back for the conversation at the end. Thank you, Rodrigo.
Thank
Congratulations.
You.
And now let's take a look at Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse.